Hey guys, Danny here. I've got a rather interesting product to show you today. I think you're going to want to check this out. This is a smartphone that was sent to me for review from Banggood. As always, if you'd like to purchase this product, I'll put a link down in the description. Be sure to check that out because I always try and find coupon codes for you, and it does also help support my channel if you use those links. It is the Umidigi S3 Pro, and it has some really interesting specs, one of them being a huge battery, which I will be telling you more about shortly. But first we're going to be unboxing this, and then I will show you how well it performs. The unboxing experience is as you would expect. It does come in quite a large box compared to some of the more mainstream phones, but it does come with some handy little things, like it comes with this little leather case, and I was really glad it did come with a case because this isn't a really well-known popular phone, so you probably won't have many case options for it. I have the European version as I'm in the UK, and I'll be using this on the network EE. The phone has some pretty impressive specs for its price. It has a 5150 mAh battery, which should give us some really good battery times. It has a 48 megapixel rear facing camera, but that is upscaled using AI. I believe it's actually a 12 megapixel camera, but some of you can correct me if I'm wrong. The front facing camera is 20 megapixels, and you also have a 12 megapixel telephoto lens on the back. It has a 6.3-inch Full HD display, as well as 128 gigs of internal storage, which I think is very impressive for the price point that this phone's at. The leather case that you get with the phone I think is pretty decent quality, and I've been using it for about a week on the phone, and it does feel really nice. It gives you some extra grip on the back of the phone, which is definitely a fingerprint magnet and is very slippery, so you will definitely want a case on this phone. My first impressions of this phone were very good. It has a lot of weight to it. It will be heavier than most phones you've used because of its size, but mostly because of the big battery inside. But it has a very premium feel and look to it with that teardrop camera on the front. This phone is also using USB Type-C as well as 18-watt fast charging. It comes with this really interesting anti-tangle cable. It feels really high quality and is quite long, so will be useful for those of you who actually need one of these cables. I will also be showing you the charging times for this phone later on. As I said earlier, I really like the design of this phone. It feels really premium in the hand because of its weight and the metal design that it uses. The teardrop front facing camera is also really nice, even compared to some really expensive phones like the Pixel 3 for example. So you're getting a really nice premium design at a low price point, which I think is a really great deal. Setting up the phone was very straightforward. Like most Android phones, I simply entered in my information for my Google account, and I was able to restore all of my information from my previous phone. As you will see, this phone does also have a fingerprint sensor on the back, which at first I was a little bit unsure about because I wasn't sure how well this would work. On most of my previous phones I've had a fingerprint sensor on the front of the device, which seemed really convenient, but this one worked really well and was super fast. I had no problems setting it up or unlocking the phone. At any time you can turn on the phone by touching the fingerprint sensor on the back, and as you will see, it's very responsive and snappy. It's definitely one of the fastest fingerprint sensors I have used. Now, I haven't used some of the really expensive mainstream phones, so they may be slightly faster, but I did come from a Galaxy S7 which did have a fast fingerprint reader, and this one seems to keep up just fine. I was really happy with the display in this phone. It is really huge, and because of that teardrop design of the camera on the top, it just feels really nice in the hand. Now, it's not going to compete with the likes of Samsung and their AMOLED panels, which are crazy bright and vibrant. This does have good viewing angles and does get pretty bright. You will suffer slightly if you're outside in direct sunlight. It can be quite hard to read the display. But unless you're downgrading from a super high-end phone, this is going to be great for you for gaming and watching movies and videos. I'm a really big fan that this device comes with 128 gigabytes of internal storage. I wish most phones would do this, but they often charge a premium to go with larger internal storage. So it's really nice to have this on a lower end phone, and I shouldn't be filling this up anytime soon. The device is running Android 9 and it doesn't come with any bloatware, which is really nice to see. You get a stock Android feel, but of course this isn't a pure stock Android device because it's not Android One and it's not from Google, so it's pretty much as close to stock as you can get. So first of all, I want to talk about one of the strong points of this phone, and that is definitely its huge battery. I was getting some insane screen on times. Here was my first day using this phone, and I used it very intensively, and I got 9 hours of screen on time, which was just crazy to me coming from the likes of Samsung, where I regularly got 3 to 4 hours of screen on time. So this really blew my mind and was a really nice luxury for me. At least it felt that way, to be able to use a phone for 3 to up to 4 days with light usage without charging the phone. This just felt really nice to be able to do this. 18-watt fast charging is also supported, and this enables you to get some very impressive charging speeds at the lower end on this phone. So for example, after 15 minutes I had a 20% charge, after 30 minutes I had a 37% charge, and after an hour I had 70%. Now it does drop off significantly after this, and it takes about a total of 2 hours to fully charge this phone. But you have to remember, even after 30 minutes at a 37% charge, because the battery is so large in this phone, that will easily get you 3 hours of screen on time and probably more. The Wi-Fi speeds were perfectly acceptable. I don't really have super fast Wi-Fi, so I can't do any extreme tests on this, but around my house it worked no problem at all. I've also had no problems using 4G on this phone in the UK on the network EE. Of course, you will need to do some checks if you are in a different location or if you're using a different network provider, but I had no problems texting, calling, streaming videos, and the quality of calls were absolutely fine, and the person on the other end said they were perfectly clear and I could hear them absolutely fine. Inside is 6 gigabytes of RAM, which gives us very good performance when multitasking. There's a octa-core CPU and a Mali G72 MP3 GPU, which gives us some pretty steady performance when playing games. I did run some bench tests on this phone, and they are pretty mediocre, as you would expect from a lower price point phone, but for what this phone is going to be used for most people, it's going to be absolutely fine for most gaming, streaming videos, listening to music, watching YouTube videos, and so on. You'll see that the score here on this bench test isn't very impressive, but as I said, this isn't going to cause you any problems. These are just numbers on day-to-day use. I didn't have any problems, notice any slowdowns or anything like that. So that was just some footage of me playing Asphalt 9. I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's a very fun game. As you'll see, I'm really bad at it, so I don't play it very often, but this was just to give you a demonstration of the device running a game, and also the speaker quality, which is absolutely fine for, you know, general use gaming and watching videos. It's not super high quality, but it does go pretty loud, so this will serve you perfectly fine in most situations. Unfortunately, at the time of filming, this phone does have a pretty major weak point, and that is its camera, or cameras in general. The photo quality of the phone is pretty good. It can be hit and miss, but the weak point is definitely the video. Now, these are some pretty good shots I managed to get here. You can there's a lot of controls you can mess around with on the camera to try and get some better image quality, but as you'll see on these rather looking scruffy photos of me using the front-facing camera, you'll see that the photos just look really weird. They're using some sort of denoising feature in the camera, and it just adds this really weird kind of like chalky effect to the photos, and they just look really strange sometimes. This phone is definitely capable of taking some nice pictures, however they just can be very hit and miss, and generally they aren't really up to par from what you would expect from the camera system that this phone is using. The app also needs a lot of work. The developers have said they will be releasing updates shortly, which I will be updating you guys on, but this phone has so much potential. It's a shame that it's let down by the camera, but I do encourage you to keep up to date with this phone and definitely see if it improves over time. I will be making more videos on this. But to dive a little bit further into this, here is some video samples. This one will show you one of the major issues this phone currently has, and it's that it doesn't have any autofocus when you're taking video. This really isn't acceptable, and you can just generally see there's this really weird effect when you're filming video in the first place. The phone does support electronic image stabilization, which works fairly well as you see in this clip here, but it's nothing compared to optical image stabilization, which actually physically stabilizes the camera. Electronically does it through software, which can cause some other issues, but it's not too bad and you can get some decent footage with it. Here's a clip of me at the gym using the back camera, and it's in portrait mode, and you can see there are definitely some quality issues. Hey guys, I'm now doing a test on the front-facing camera in portrait mode. It looks okay on the screen, but this phone does seem to have really weak video in general. It doesn't have autofocus on the rear camera, so hopefully this one isn't too bad, and we'll see how it turns out. Now there are some potential fixes for some of these issues that the camera has. You can use different camera apps. One that seemed to produce pretty good picture quality for me was Snap Camera. You can also use Open Camera, which is completely free, and that will also give you some improved picture quality, but overall the camera experience in this phone is lacking quite a lot at the moment, but the developers are promising updates, so as I said, I would definitely keep an eye on this phone because it has a huge amount of potential. Overall, I really like this phone and I think it could go a long way if they're able to dial in some of these camera issues. As I said, they have promised updates, so I will be keeping you guys up to date on that, and if you have any questions for me, just leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to come back to you. The camera app and the cameras overall definitely need a lot of work. I wouldn't go as far to say as they are a complete deal breaker for this phone, because I definitely was able to get some okay camera shots with this phone, and with some software updates, if this can be improved, I think this could be a really amazing deal. But this phone does impress me in most other areas, so I would say if you can get past the camera issues, I would still recommend this phone to you. And as always, there'll be a link down in the description if you'd like to pick one of these phones up. I really hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing for more videos like this one, and of course I will see you in the next one.